Alma's decision to forgive Kwame didn't erase the pain of the past, but it allowed her to breathe again. She was finally free from the bitterness that had consumed her for so long. However, forgiveness didn't mean forgetting, and moving forward was a challenge neither of them were fully prepared for. After that day, Alma began visiting Kwame regularly. She wasn't sure why, but she felt drawn to his struggle for redemption. She saw the effort he put into rebuilding the lives he once destroyed. He continued to work with the community, his once proud demeanor now replaced with humility and quiet determination. But not everyone was willing to let go of the past. Some people in the neighborhood still cursed his name, refusing his help or accusing him of trying to buy forgiveness. One afternoon, as Kwame was helping to renovate a school, a group of angry men confronted him. "You think a few donations will erase everything you did?" One man shouted, his fists clenched. "You ruined our lives, Kwame. People died because of you." Kwame stood his ground, his head bowed in shame. "I know," he said softly, "and I'll carry that guilt for the rest of my life. But I want to help. Even if you never forgive me." The men spat at his feet and walked away, leaving him standing alone. Alma, who had witnessed the scene from a distance, felt a pang of sympathy. She approached him as he continued working, his face solemn but determined. "Why do you keep doing this?" Alma asked, genuinely curious. "They'll never accept you. No matter what you do." Kwame wiped the sweat from his brow and looked at her with weary eyes. "I'm not doing it for their forgiveness," he admitted. "I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. Because I need to atone for my sins, even if they never forgive me." Alma was moved by his sincerity. She realized that Kwame was truly changing, not for praise or approval, but because he was finally confronting his demons. For the first time, she saw him not as the monster who destroyed her family, but as a man trying to rebuild his soul from the ashes of his past. But the road to redemption was far from easy. Kwame's health continued to decline, weakened by the years of stress, guilt, and malnutrition. One evening, as he was returning from a community meeting, he collapsed in the street. Alma rushed him to the hospital, where the doctors revealed that his heart was failing. "He needs rest and proper care," the doctor said sternly. "If he keeps pushing himself like this, he won't survive." Alma stayed by his bedside, watching him struggle to breathe. She remembered the powerful man he once was, commanding respect and fear wherever he went. Now he looked fragile and vulnerable, his face pale and his body weak. As he slept, he muttered incoherently, his face twisted in pain. Alma leaned closer and heard him whisper, "I'm sorry. Please forgive me." His voice was choked with fear and regret, haunted by the ghosts of his past. Tears welled up in Alma's eyes as she realized how much he was suffering. She had wanted revenge, and she had gotten it. But seeing him like this, broken and defeated, didn't bring her peace. It only deepened her sorrow. When Kwame woke up, he was surprised to find Alma sitting beside him. "You've stayed?" he asked, his voice weak. Alma looked away, her face guarded. "You saved my life once. I guess I'm returning the favor," she said, trying to sound indifferent. Kwame smiled faintly, his eyes filled with gratitude. "You've always been stronger than me," he murmured. "I destroyed people to feel powerful. But you survived everything I threw at you. You're the strongest person I know." Alma's heart tightened at his words. She realized that she had been stronger than her pain, stronger than her hatred. And now she was stronger than her past. For the next few weeks, Alma helped care for Kwame as he recovered. She cooked his meals, helped him take his medicine, and even read to him when he was too weak to speak. Their days were quiet, filled with an unspoken understanding that words couldn't capture. One evening, as they sat together watching the sunset, Kwame turned to Alma and said, "I want to go back to your village." Alma looked at him in shock. "Why?" she asked, her voice guarded. "I need to face what I did. To see the people I hurt," Kwame explained. "I need to apologize to your family. To your father." His voice wavered as he continued, I need to see his grave and beg for his forgiveness. Amma felt a lump in her throat. She had never imagined returning to her village with the man who destroyed her family. But she knew that this was the final step in his journey of redemption. And hers as well. Together, they made the trip back to the village. It was a long and difficult journey, filled with memories of pain and loss. Amma felt her heart ache as she walked through the familiar streets, seeing the faces of people who once knew her. Some looked at her with pity, others with shock, and a few with anger when they saw Kwame by her side. They reached her father's grave, the dirt worn and the flowers long dead. Kwame fell to his knees, his body trembling as he sobbed. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," he cried, his voice breaking. "I took everything from you. I destroyed your family. And I can never undo that." Amma watched him, her heart torn between anger and sorrow. She knelt beside him and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You can't change the past," she whispered, her voice trembling. "But you can decide what kind of man you want to be now." Kwame looked up at her, his face streaked with tears. "I don't deserve forgiveness," he said, his voice raw. "But I want to be better. I want to live the rest of my life honoring the people I hurt." Amma felt tears in her own eyes as she finally released the anger she had carried for so long. She realized that forgiveness wasn't about letting him off the hook. It was about freeing herself from the pain that had kept her trapped for so many years. Together they stood before her father's grave, two broken souls seeking peace. They prayed silently, their hearts heavy but hopeful. As the sun set over the village, Amma felt a sense of closure, a feeling that her father's spirit was finally at rest. But their journey wasn't over. They still had to rebuild their lives from the ashes of pain and betrayal. They still had to face the people Kwame had hurt and continue the difficult path of redemption. Would the world ever accept Kwame's change? Could Amma truly move on from her past? Could they find hope and healing after so much loss? After returning from the village, Kwame felt a deep sense of relief but also a lingering fear. He had confronted his past, but he knew that true redemption required continuous effort. He resumed his work in the community, rebuilding homes, donating to schools, and helping the families he once harmed. Yet, each day was a test of his resolve, as some people still hurled insults and refused his help. Amma watched his perseverance with growing respect. She could see that Kwame was genuinely changing, not out of obligation, but from a deep desire to make amends. Despite the resistance he faced, he never wavered. He showed up every day, willing to do the hardest, dirtiest jobs without complaint. One afternoon, as Kwame was repairing a collapsed well, a young boy approached him hesitantly. "Are you really the bad man who made my father lose his job?" the boy asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. Kwame's face fell, and he looked at the boy with guilt. "Yes," he admitted, his voice soft. "I made many mistakes. I hurt many people, including your father. I'm trying to make things right now, but I know I can never undo the pain I caused." The boy stared at him for a moment before handing him a bottle of water. "My father says everyone deserves a second chance. If they're really sorry." The boy's words struck Kwame deeply, and tears welled up in his eyes. He took the water and whispered, "Thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance." Amma saw the exchange from a distance, and her heart softened even more. She was beginning to see Kwame not just as the man who ruined her life, but as someone who was also wounded and searching for forgiveness. But just as Kwame began to find hope, trouble struck. Some of the powerful businessmen who once conspired with him were not pleased with his new path. They saw his redemption as a threat to their own shady dealings, fearing he would expose their corruption. One night, as Kwame was locking up the community center, a group of men confronted him. Their leader, Mensah, was once his closest ally in the land acquisition schemes. "You've gone soft, Kwame," Mensah sneered. "Helping these people. Are you trying to ruin us all?" Kwame stood his ground, his face calm but determined. "I've done enough harm. I won't be a part of your greed anymore," he replied. "These people deserve justice. And I won't betray them again. Mensah's face twisted with rage. You think you can just walk away? After everything we did together? You owe me, Kwame. He punched Kwame hard, sending him crashing to the ground. The other men joined in, kicking and beating him mercilessly. Amma found him hours later, lying unconscious in a pool of blood. Her heart raced with fear as she called for help and rushed him to the hospital. When Kwame woke up, his body was bruised and broken, but his spirit remained unshaken. They did this because you chose to do the right thing, Amma said. Her voice choked with emotion. You stood up to them. You stood up for us. Kwame managed a weak smile. I can't go back to who I was, he whispered. No matter what they do to me, I won't betray you, or this community. Again. Amma's eyes filled with tears as she realized the depth of his transformation. He was no longer the ruthless businessman who destroyed her family. He was a man willing to sacrifice everything to make things right. But the attack was just the beginning. Mensah and his allies launched a smear campaign against Kwame, spreading false rumors to ruin his reputation. They bribed officials to shut down his projects and even threatened the community members who accepted his help. Amma stood by Kwame's side, defending him against the lies and rallying the community to support him. She confronted Mensah publicly, exposing his corruption and his role in the violent attack. Her courage inspired others to speak out, and soon Mensah's power began to crumble. Kwame was overwhelmed by Amma's loyalty and strength. He realized that she was no longer his enemy but his greatest ally. They fought together side by side to protect the community from the greedy men who once controlled everything. In the midst of the chaos, Kwame received a letter from his estranged mother, who had disowned him years ago because of his ruthless lifestyle. The letter was filled with words of forgiveness and love, telling him how proud she was of his transformation. Tears streamed down his face as he read her words. He remembered his childhood, his mother's kindness, and the dreams he once had before greed consumed him. He vowed to honor her by continuing his journey of redemption, no matter how difficult it became. Amma saw the change in his eyes and felt her own heart healing. She had forgiven him, but now she was beginning to respect him. Their shared fight against corruption brought them closer, and they found strength in each other's determination. But the battle was far from over. Mensah was furious at his downfall and plotted an even more vicious attack. He hired mercenaries to burn down the community center, hoping to destroy Kwame's hard work and crush his spirit. The fire was devastating, reducing everything to ashes. Kwame stood before the ruins, his face pale with shock and grief. All his efforts, his dreams of redemption, had gone up in flames. Amma stood beside him, her eyes blazing with anger. We'll rebuild, she declared, her voice firm. We won't let him win. We'll fight back. Together. Kwame looked at her, his heart pounding with gratitude and admiration. Thank you, Amma, for standing by me. For believing in me, he whispered. Amma smiled, her face softened by compassion. You saved my life once, she said. Now it's my turn to save yours. Hand in hand, they vowed to rebuild the community, to continue the fight against greed and corruption, and to protect the people who had suffered for so long. But with Mensah still lurking in the shadows, their journey was far from over. Could they truly defeat him and his powerful allies? Would Kwame's redemption be enough to heal the wounds of the past? Or would the flames of revenge rise again, threatening to destroy everything they had fought for? The destruction of the community center was a heavy blow, but it did not break Kwame or Amma's resolve. If anything, it strengthened their determination. They rallied the community, gathering everyone to the charred ruins, and Amma delivered a passionate speech. We've lost so much because of greed and corruption, she said, her voice echoing through the crowd. But we cannot let evil win. We must rebuild not just this building but our hope, our unity, our lives. Kwame stood beside her, his eyes filled with tears as the people responded with cheers of solidarity. Volunteers poured in, bringing materials, food, and even money despite their struggles. Kwame used his remaining savings to buy supplies, refusing to give up on the dream of redemption. But Mensah wasn't finished. Furious that his plan had failed, he resorted to even more sinister tactics. He bribed local authorities to shut down the reconstruction, claiming it violated building codes. When that didn't work, he sent thugs to threaten the workers. Amma and Kwame faced the threats head-on, refusing to back down. They went to the media, exposing Mensah's corruption and his attempts to sabotage their efforts. The story spread like wildfire, turning public opinion against him. Backed into a corner, Mensah made one last desperate move. He kidnapped Amma, hoping to break Kwame's spirit once and for all. When Kwame received the call, his blood ran cold. "Bring 10 million Sadies by midnight, or you'll never see her again," Mensah's voice sneered over the phone. Kwame was terrified, but he didn't have the money. Desperate, he went to his old associates, begging for a loan, but they turned their backs on him. Out of options, he decided to confront Mensah himself, willing to sacrifice his life to save Amma. He found Mensah at an abandoned warehouse, Amma tied to a chair, bruised but defiant. "You're a coward, Mensah," she shouted. "You think you can break us? You're weaker than you know." Mensah slapped her hard, but Amma's eyes blazed with fury. Kwame's heart raced as he stepped out of the shadows. "Let her go, Mensah. This is between you and me." Mensah laughed cruelly. "You think you're a hero now? You're nothing. You ruined lives just like I did. The only difference is I don't pretend to be good." Kwame's face hardened. "You're right. I was a monster. But I'm trying to change. And that's why I won't let you destroy this community. Or hurt Amma." Mensah pulled out a gun, aiming it at Kwame. "Then die with your pathetic redemption." He fired, but Kwame had anticipated the move, dodging just in time. He tackled Mensah, the gun falling from his hand. They wrestled fiercely, fists flying as years of anger and betrayal exploded between them. Amma managed to free herself from the ropes and grabbed the gun, pointing it at Mensah. "It's over, Mensah," she said, her voice cold and steady. "You've lost." Mensah's eyes widened in fear. You wouldn't dare." Amma's finger trembled on the trigger, but she lowered the gun. "No," she said firmly. "I won't become like you." The police arrived moments later, arresting Mensah and his thugs. It turned out that Kwame had secretly recorded Mensah's confession on his phone, and the evidence was enough to bring down his entire criminal empire. The community celebrated as news spread of Mensah's downfall. The rebuilding resumed, this time with even more support and donations. Kwame continued his work, humbled and grateful for a second chance. As the new community center opened, Amma stood beside him, her face glowing with pride. "You did it," she said softly. "You redeemed yourself." Kwame looked at her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "No, we did it. You saved me from myself." Amma smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "I forgave you. But you earned my respect." Kwame took her hand, his voice choked with emotion. "I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I promise I'll spend the rest of my life honoring it." They stood together, watching the children play and the community thrive. The pain of the past was still there, but it no longer controlled them. They had faced the flames of revenge and emerged stronger, bound by forgiveness and hope. For Kwame, redemption was no longer just a dream. It was his new life, built on the ashes of his past. And for Amma, forgiveness had freed her from the burden of hatred, allowing her to embrace a future she never thought possible. Together, they proved that even the darkest hearts could find light, and even the deepest wounds could heal. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this intriguing final part of the story, please drop a like and comment on your favorite part of the video, and do well to subscribe to my channel, Folktale by Queen Mother. Don't forget to turn on your notification as well so you won't miss out on our next interesting story. Equally share this story and channel with your friends and family. It has not been easy getting here, but I really appreciate all of you who watched all the 3 parts of this series to the end. To have a lovely day. Thank you.